Welcome to today's session from CDWG, Esports from kindergarten to college and career. During today's discussion, we're going to get into what goes into successful programs at different levels and different ages, and why it's vital to understand where your students have been and where they're going if you're trying to build a sustainable and successful esports program. Take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat or in whatever platform you're following along with us on today. If you're a screenshot and post on Twitter kind of person, throw hashtag CDWGetsEDU on there. Thanks a lot. Let's go. I'd like to start today with a thank you. Thank you for being here today and dedicating time to making a difference in education. Whether you're in the classroom, a student, a school, or a district administrator, or any other kind of staff, school staff or volunteer, thank you. Thank you from the kids that you support, the parents you support, the community you support, especially this growing esports ecosystem that you're a part of and that you're supporting. Quick obligatory intro slide here. My name is Doug Konopelko, and I'm the National Esports Manager here at CDWG. You can find me on Twitter at dkonopelko. Feel free to tag me with any questions or thoughts as we go throughout our discussion today. My passion is deeply rooted in education. As soon as I started teaching, I knew I had found my people. I've been an educator, a coach, a school and district leader, and worked at both the K-12 and college level. For the last couple of years, I've supported and led CDW's education efforts, and I'm beyond excited to be now leading our incredible esports practice here. I'm also the host of a soon-to-be-renamed podcast and web series called Focus on K-12, EdTech and the Education Experience. Through that work, I've interviewed and worked with some great esports leaders, a few of whom are participating in Intel Inspires here as well. You should absolutely check out their work if you're not already familiar with these folks. Feel free to check out the show at youtube.com/focusonkk12 or anywhere where you listen to or consume your podcasts. So let's get into it a little bit. Now you know a little more about me, but what am I doing here at Intel Inspires, delivering this session? Everyone or almost everyone in attendance today already knows and understands the great power that a successful esports program can hold for the students and the community that it supports. A strong program also builds out or takes into consideration where our students have been and where they're going. We're fortunate enough at CDW to work with some truly innovative programs from K-12 to higher ed to the industry itself. So 3 examples here. Fresno Unified has a well-established, successful, sustainable program in the K-12 space. In addition to their incredible arena, the Fortress Full Sail University deeply integrates its esports program into their programming and in outreach to local school districts to help build that pipeline for success. And we're all familiar with the work of Epic Games, but they've also invested heavily into education and have customized professional development programs that schools can take advantage of. So again, 3 different lenses, but all around this incredible esports space and understanding what does the pipeline for success look like. And if we're looking to build something that lasts, it starts with a strong foundation. In education, that's the elementary years. But most folks might not be sure, how do we build an esports program for these really young learners, for our younger grades? One reason that many times it doesn't look quite like esports as we know it, but it's rather building those foundational skills that will really serve them as they grow into more formal programs throughout their education. One of the most common stepping stones into the world of esports at the younger grades is through Microsoft Minecraft Education Edition. So if you're able to, make sure that you catch the session with Microsoft leaders tomorrow to dive in deep. But schools that are utilizing Minecraft Education Edition are able to take advantage of that open world building aspects of the game, the more education focused elements within the Education Edition, and also the more structured build competitions that have that true esports vibe. With a huge community and many students who already play Minecraft, walking through the halls of our schools, it's a great entry point into the ecosystem. And in addition, Microsoft has really doubled down, and they've created their own teacher esports certification over the last year, which just recently launched. So we look at something like Minecraft Education Edition. It has that world building, it has collaboration, basics of computational thinking and computer science. So by connecting those pieces with the game-based learning opportunities, really set students up to be able to make connections to the esports community. At elementary, we mostly see schools that focus on internal competitions with the school or individual classroom. Some also introduce console games at this level. One of the incredible educators I got to interview for the show for Focus on K-12 was Dr. Chris Emdin from the Teachers College at Columbia University. He's done incredible work all over, but he shared anything students can consume, they can create. And we need to start thinking about esports in this way as well, all the way down to our elementary level. So you may think that game design is only available to CTE students at high school levels, but products like Block Souls or Game Builder Garage are great intros to creating characters and worlds and understanding the basics of game mechanics for our younger students. So in Block Souls, students can use little colored cubes and a grid to build their own characters, including different versions for when they're running, jumping. So you can create this little ninja guy if you wanted to, but also build the entire world around them. So, and all the items that their player is going to interact with along the way. So some schools already use this within makerspaces, with STEM classes. They're a great intro into the esports world. So knowing and understanding a little bit more about the ecosystem, it gives elementary students transitioning in a middle school program a definite head start. And as our students continue to learn and grow, we enter those middle school years. If they've had some of those previous experiences we just talked about for elementary, they've got a great foundation that they're able to build from as they move forward. This is where we start to see a program that much more closely resembles formal esports. While many schools continue to leverage Minecraft Education Edition at middle school, this is generally where we see things introduced like Rocket League and Smash. And while the focus generally remains on the internal competitions, many states are starting to establish leagues and tournaments and build up more of a formal program at the middle school level. This is also when we start to see schools more intentionally design spaces for esports. So, for example, we've got here Apollo Junior High School in Texas. They've not only begun in and invested in building out a space for their program, but getting really intentional about the conversations about the inclusion of esports into their curriculum, into those daily conversations. So at the middle school grades, making those connections with your students and making those connections really visible and intentional becomes a more and more important facet of the work, because these are also the years that we tend to start to lose some of our students, right? We start to lose some of that engagement. So programs like Scholastic Esports at the middle school level can help solidify these students' academic identity. And while you've probably seen plenty of renderings like this over time, I think it's also important to show that this is a real space with real students. Faces blocked out, of course, but this space has changed from just another computer lab on campus to something that the students and the staff can be proud of. So again, we start to see programs that look more like what we think of when we think esports, and the competition landscape starts to grow. If you want to see an example of what middle school esports can be, make sure you connect with folks like Chris Emdin from Garden State Esports. He's a great leader and always willing to evangelize the work that they've been able to accomplish there in New Jersey. As we continue to move forward through the high school level, we start to see a heavier shift to external competitions, a shift where the program becomes more integrated, also more widespread into the different areas of the curriculum and the campus, and an expansion in the titles and genres offered. And this is also where we tend to see more of it become PC-based. In addition to the Smash and Rocket League that we see a lot of at middle school level, continuing to high school, we see the addition of things like League of Legends, Dota 2, NBA 2K, and more. These programs are usually more formalized with coach and player development and a deeper integration into the curriculum, most commonly through that CTE lens. So over the last few years, you'll know that the competitive landscape has grown just incredibly fast. And there's also a lot of diversity in the types of programs that are supported at the state, regional, or national level. Understanding where your state currently stands when it comes to a competition is an important part of building out your program. Understanding what is that competitive landscape helps drive what you can do, and also helps in building a program that's recognized as being more official, although that term doesn't quite hold the same water as with traditional sports just yet. This is also when we start to see the beyond the game aspects of the ecosystem begin to explode. So at high school, we've got CTE programs like broadcasting and digital design. So more and more students can be involved in an esports program without necessarily having to be a gamer themselves. Or if they are a gamer, they don't have to be, first string on any of these teams, right? So many companies have started to develop curriculum also to support the more deliberate inclusion of esports into those different CTE pathways. Those specialized skill sets that the students are developing also go a long way to creating a pathway to college or career. So planning for scholarships and working heavily with athletic directors is another thing that really starts to appear when we get to the high school level. And then continuing that up through collegiate esports, we start to see teams that more closely resemble professional esports organizations. The game ecosystem is wide open and includes many genres and games that are not included in the K-12 landscape, like first-person shooters. And while many schools are building out formal programs, there are also a lot of student-led organizations, intramural teams, and other ways to be involved in esports around campus without being on the team. So competitive teams and schools have started to recruit more heavily for their players, and scholarship dollars available have been increasing year after year. But students can also pay to play more informally at PC cafe style setups on some campuses already. And as we take a quick look at the collegiate scene, we start to see more and more really innovative programs and spaces that are used not only as valuable connections to the students on campus, but also as recruiting tools to bring students into those schools. At Full Sail University in Florida, many folks have heard of their arena, the Fortress, and it's used by local organizations and makes for a great event space at the school, even when it's not being used for esports, supporting their program, the Armada. But they also have school district outreach where they replicate competitions for local districts, right? Helping to build that pipeline. Again, we want to make sure that as we're building out these programs, we're looking back at the students who are entering into our programs, but also looking forward at where our students are going. The competitive landscape within the collegiate conferences and organizations continues to grow and become more supported as we move forward. Full Sail's also recognize the power of using gaming machines in other areas of their work. So, they provide them to their students for their work in animation and for other graphics-intensive majors because these machines do a phenomenal job of handling that kind of work. Successful college programs also have connections not only down to K-12, but also up to those companies who value the skills students are going to be learning along the way. And if we have students and new employees coming into the workplace that are familiar with the landscape and have been involved in the esports ecosystem throughout their time and throughout their schooling, they come prepared for many different career paths. So as we touched on at the high school level, we've also got to consider all of those beyond the game opportunities as students become the next generation of the workforce. So in reality, as with traditional sports, professional players are a small fraction of that ecosystem and just the tip of the pyramid of what is possible. In addition, for esports, professional players' careers are usually short and the players are usually very young. So they've really got to consider, what does life beyond the game look like? What transferable skills do they have that'll be beneficial in career and beyond? And how can they still be involved and close to their passion without necessarily being involved in the game itself? To give a quick idea of what's out there, I love sharing this graphic from Nicolas Besson, a researcher in esports out of the University of Paris. While some of it's a little overreaching, the important thing to note here is that the skills that our students learn through esports are applicable to many different career paths and areas of expertise that go way beyond that of a professional player. There's so many opportunities within the marketing fields. For students who have experience managing their team's social media presence in high school and college, there's a direct correlation in the professional world. For students who are involved in the production of a team's live stream, there are both production and hosting opportunities abound. To relate this back to professional sports, only a small handful of collegiate student athletes become professional players, but many support professional organizations or are involved in different ways. There might be a few dozen players on a team, but there are hundreds or thousands of people who are working behind the scenes, who are working for them, or the venue, or the marketing companies, or the broadcast networks that support them. They work for the league itself, for the players' unions, in merchandising, and so much more. As you continue to learn and grow your programs, remember to make deliberate connections to both the before and the after to help benefit our students' futures. Thank you for your time and your attention, two of our most limited resources. For those that are watching live, please stick around if you've got any questions about what I've shared here today. Thank you.